Yes, boss. You wanted an update on that McPherson gas station mini mart case. Mm-hmm. 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 Well, I gotta be honest, boss. I realize that there aren't a lot of clues in that case, and I realize that you put me in charge of the case because I'm your best detective, but there really isn't much of an update. Um, we had uniformed officers go door to door in the neighborhood with the general description we had of the individual, and I'm afraid that, yeah, we've come up with nothing. How? Well, boss, I mean, keep in mind the circumstances of this case. This was an individual who stopped off at the gas station mini mart. He did not drive in, so there's no vehicle. Video cameras did not pick up any license plates since there's no vehicle. He just walked in off the street wearing a plain black watch cap, wearing a light blue surgical mask, and yeah, just a black coat that said C9 on it. We have been able to determine that C9 is an in-house Target brand. You know, Target, the retailer. It is an in-house Target brand, C9. Um, we believe that Champion makes the C9 line of clothing for Target. So it was a coat, not very high quality. And we've gone to the three nearest Target locations. We've spoken with Target Corporate, and well, they've been basically no help. I'm sorry, boss, they just haven't been any help. Most likely, the C9 black coat is a significantly older model going back many, many years. We gave them a description of a coat. They found one from their old inventory that seems to match, but not quite. No way to track down who bought it, unfortunately. Pants, he was wearing generic black cargo pants. He was wearing a, generic black leather belt with a stainless steel buckle. He was wearing uh, black black shoes. And actually, the witnesses we have, they're not even sure if his shoes were black or brown. I think the ones who said black are just assuming because of the black pants and nearly all black outfit. Well, boss, keep in mind, um, there are still a lot of people out there who walk around with masks on. because of what took place with COVID. I mean, technically, COVID is still around. It's not over. It's not finished. And there are a lot of people who still mask up. What can I say? And with it being winter, well, obviously people are going to wear winter outfits. And when you've got on a winter outfit and you're wearing a surgical mask, pretty much all that anyone can see are your eyes. Well, that's the other thing. He was wearing black gloves, of course, so no fingerprints. And honestly, boss, the witnesses who were standing or sitting nearest to him, they're not sure. I mean, he might be a very light-skinned black man. He might be Latino, or, he might be a white guy with a tan. I mean, they couldn't identify him by his hair or any of his other features. Some said he had black eyes. A couple of people said he had dark brown eyes. I mean, that doesn't narrow it down. Plus the fact that he never actually spoke. I mean, if this guy was a robbery suspect, things would be a lot easier. But, he was one of the hostages. Yeah. 3 guys came in. One of them pulled out, there's that darn generator again. Yes, boss. Yes, I will have a talk with Julio about it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, all good. Yes, boss, I will have a talk with Julio about that darn generator as soon as I'm done briefing you. But as you know, 3 guys ran into that mini mart. 2 of them had guns. One of them pulled out a large pillowcase and demanded money. And, one of them backed him up at the counter. The other one went all around the mini mart and grabbed a handful of people who were there, had them all sit on the floor in the back near the beer. And, yeah, the one in the back, he demanded that everyone hand over their wallets and pocketbooks. And, yeah, every one of them did, including our suspect. Well, not our suspect robber, but you know who I mean. The one we're trying to identify, but we can't. Let's see, there was the elderly couple. There was the older woman, middle-aged. Yeah, so you had the elderly couple and their granddaughter. You had the middle-aged woman and the teenager. No, we have been able to determine that the teenager and the middle-aged woman are not related. They're separate customers. And then we have our suspect. Yeah, our non-robber suspect. Well, things seem to be going smoothly. Everyone handed over everything they had, including our suspect. Everyone was down on the floor near the beer in the back. And up front, the clerk was tossing money, tossing scratch-off tickets into the pillowcase, being backed up by one of the guys with the gun. And as far as we know, the guy with the pillowcase wasn't armed. But after they got the money, they got everyone's valuables, you know. One of the guys, he stayed up front. Guy with the pillowcase came to the back of the mini mart, started picking up their wallets, all this and that, tossing them, into the pillowcase, and then that's when things went horribly wrong. The guy in the back with the revolver looked at the little girl, turned to his partner with the pillowcase and said something, maybe in Russian, and yeah, that seemed to trigger our non-robber suspect. Next thing we know, he reaches underneath an armpit, pulls something out, and all of the witnesses swear that he didn't have anything in his hands, but, next thing we know, guy with the gun, his throat gets slit. Yeah, gun falls to the bottom. Guy with the pillowcase is shocked. He just stands there, and that's when he gets his throat slit. By this time, the guy who's up front is yelling for his partners because he's confused as to what's going on. And then it seems without a care in the world, our non-robbery suspect picks up the revolver, walks forward, and puts 2 bullets in the guy's skull. The middle-aged woman, she said everything happened so fast that she blinked and it was over. They couldn't believe how quickly our non-robbery suspect reacted. He didn't say a single word. At first he was cooperating. And apparently, one of the guys who is now back there with the hostages said something in Russian to the other guy, and it set off the guy on the ground. And, thankfully, the teenager heard what was said, and according to him, one of the robbery suspects glanced at the girl and said he was going to take her to the back room for a little bit of fun. Yeah. Well, the granddaughter is only 9 years old, and apparently that was the wrong thing to say, because our non-robbery suspect went off. He didn't say anything, just reached underneath his armpit, pulled something out. No. I believe what he pulled out may have been a very small paring knife with a small curved blade, a blade that curves inward, because the way he went after their throats, I mean, that would have been the ideal type of blade to use. So maybe he had rigged up some sort of shoulder rig underneath his coat, or maybe even underneath his sweater. Well, yes, he was wearing, that's right, a large black sweater. All I know is, boss, he reaches underneath his armpit, pulls out something so small that no one else sees it. They have no clue what it is. And he used it. The speed at which he moved. And this is a big guy, so a big guy with a gun on him, but the way he moved, he didn't say anything. And when that revolver fell, after the first guy was killed, he didn't even go for it. He just kept using, well, we believe to be a knife. Yeah, he preferred using a knife. I know, boss, I know this makes him extremely dangerous. I mean, you have an option to use a gun, but you don't go for it. Very dangerous. Based on what we were able to learn, this individual might have martial arts training, perhaps military training. Oh, he definitely has firearms training. I mean, he picked up that revolver and he didn't even look at it. He just fired it. Well, yes, I realize that, boss, but most civilians don't realize that revolvers don't have external safeties. I mean, some of them do, but most of those date back to the early turn of the century. Not this one, the previous one, like when the 1900s, like when the 1800s became the 1900s, that sort of thing. There were a few oddball revolvers that had external safety mechanisms. Modern day revolvers, yeah, they don't. And this guy knew it. He picked it up, didn't even look at it, didn't say a word, just pointed it forward and immediately pulled the trigger twice. I mean, he double tapped that guy in the head. Well, it's a very small mini mart. Yeah. So I guess he figured he wasn't going to miss from that distance. Yeah. 2 shots, double tap to the head, done. Well, afterwards, he picked up the other gun, and yeah, he took that revolver, he emptied it, he put the live rounds and the 2 spent shell casings on the counter. Then he took the automatic from the guy he had double tapped. He dropped the magazine, put that on the counter. Then he racked the slide back. Round came out, he picked it up, he put that on the counter. Then he walked out with the 2 empty guns. And about 3 days later, they showed up at the 22nd Police Precinct in a box. No return address, just left outside the door. Yeah. Well, thankfully, a couple of uniformed officers noticed, and they stopped the African American homeless woman who left the box. She said that a guy walked up to her, black watch cap, surgical mask, black coat, black pants. Yeah, same guy. Walked up to her, handed her an envelope with $100, and on the back of the envelope were written instructions for her to take the oversized box, place it on the steps of the 22nd Police Precinct, walk inside, and let the sergeant know, the desk sergeant, that there is a box out here for them. And that it's safe. So, yeah, the guy actually turned in the guns. And apparently, that entire interaction, he never spoke to her. He never spoke to anyone, and we have no clue who he is. Well, boss, keep in mind, usually when something like this or similar happens, we get a guy who goes out and starts bragging, usually at the local watering hole, to his buddies, his friends, family members, and that's how we catch a lead, and that's how we arrest a suspect. This guy apparently didn't brag to anyone. No, he kept his mouth shut. You know, he unloaded the guns, and 3 days later, they showed up outside a police precinct. He just apparently went in there to buy some stuff, and the robbery took place. I'm sorry, boss, but this guy kept his mouth shut. We have no leads. Yeah. I'll get back out there, but it doesn't look promising.